So the game is going on, you're feeling really good, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you let in this big ass beach ball of a goal, and it goes right through you. You have no idea how this happened, and as soon as it happens, if you're at a home rink, you all of a sudden not only hear the silence, but you can actually feel it. And it's awful feeling. And even worse, if you happen to be at an away rink, the heckles start coming, and you not only hear them, you feel them right next to you, like they're right on top of you. It can be a really awful feeling. As you're sitting in your crease, you can feel the stares from the bench. You can feel the stares from the stands. Heck, you can even feel the stares from the television if you happen to be on TV. It is one of the worst feelings in the world at that moment. Here's the reality though. It's not the goal itself that loses this game. It's the next 3 to 5 minutes where the mental spiral happens. And then that is actually what really can lose the game. It's not the bad goal, but for some reason we can get inside our heads so badly that it can get just rolling down the hill, and by the end you've totally lost it. Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you listen to the intro, today's video is about the bounce back and how to reset from letting in the beach ball, or actually having a whole game where you couldn't stop a beach ball. This topic is super common with every goalie at one point or another in their careers, have let in the beach ball or had a game where they felt they couldn't stop a thing. So it's a really great topic to talk about, and how we can reset ourselves and get back on the track without having to go a game, 2 games, 5 games, weeks on end where you're kind of in the tank and then pull yourself out. You want to be able to do this in live time and hopefully just let in the one goal and then reset right away. But we'll get to that as the video goes on. Before we get going though, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this if you like the content, and also share it if you think it can help someone. So like I said before earlier in the video, we all have these moments, and it can be an awful feeling, but it really doesn't have to be such a funeral. And I actually suggest one of the first points I want to make, and let's try to figure out how we can shorten that time frame of when we mourn, when we get down on ourselves. Now, make no mistake, we're not robots. I don't expect you to be a robot. We can all get pissed, and that's the competitor in us. And I actually encourage to keep that. You want that fire, but you have to learn how to manage it. So one of the things I suggest is you have this short 5-second span when you're allowed to be pissed. And then right after that, you have to figure out ways to reset. Now, there are multiple ways to do this. Everybody's different. With people that I work with, I treat everybody individually. I give some examples of, let's say myself or people I've coached, and everybody does things a little differently. For example, Holtby used to do the whole water spray in the air, lift his mask, and that's a great one. Flower skating into the corner. There's all kinds of different ones people would do, some really cool ones. But they're not just for show. They're actually a reset. And it can be really helpful after you've had that little bit of time to be pissed and to move on right away in live time, as opposed to letting things spiral, as I talked about earlier. One specific example I always give to clients of mine is of myself. And in my playing career, one thing I always did is I would go back to the net and grab my bottle, but I always specifically like to take my mask and put it up. And it wasn't just because I was hot or I just needed to do that to take a drink. I did it because I wanted to show that I'm not as scared of, say, if I'm in a visitor's rink and people are yelling obscenities at me and saying how crappy I am. I wanted to show that I'm not afraid. I'm not cowering in the moment, even in the worst types of goals. Even if you're feeling not great about the goal, because you can feel quite small when you really let in a bad one. But taking off the mask for me was showing that I wasn't, you know, scared. I wasn't feeling like you're getting to me. And the more I did that over the years, the more it was helpful for me. And I would even look towards the back of the net, where the goal judge and the fans were right there. And I would look it right at people, even have a smirk. I wouldn't get all arrogant, but just for my own self, so I didn't feel like it was getting the best of me. I'm not saying that you have to use that exact way of doing things, but find something that works for you, that can get you back focused on the right things, and it's like a reset for you. Play with some things, try them out, and you'll find that once you get something that works, it'll become a part of your ritual. The second point I want to make is the first shot or next shot mentality. It's really important that we don't get caught up in the score. Like if you're not only letting in the one beach ball, but you're having a rough game and the score is getting a little bit away from you and it's 3-0 early in the game, we want to really try to have this next shot mentality. I often tell people one of the things I learned really early in my career, right back in junior, because when I played junior, scores, that we could have low scoring games. I'd get shutouts, but I'd also have games where there'd be like 6-5, 7-6 every so often. And I, one of the things that I always looked up to was one of my heroes, and that was Grant Fuhr. And I would listen to him in his interviews, and he would have a 7-6 game, and they would be asking about the 3-5 hole goals he let in a row, and he'd be like, I just made sure I stopped the ones at the end, and I was there for the boys when they needed it most. And I always took that as, wow, how he handled that. And from that, I kind of developed this mentality where if the game was getting up there and the stats were getting rocked hard, I really cared more about being there for the team at the moment. So what I would do is I would look up at the clock and I would see 6-5. We were up by one. And then I would kind of refocus like it's 1-0. It seems very simple, but not a lot of people practice this, especially with the pressures of today's game and stats. And the kids at such a young age now are very concerned about it. But if you can adopt this type of mentality and become a selfless person and play for the win, play for your team, even though things might not be going great for the first part of that game, if you can always reset yourself and look at the scoreboard as a 1-0 hockey game, or if you're down 3-0, or if you're down by 3 and it's a high scoring game, you treat it like it's just 3-0. We just need a couple and then we'll be back into it. It's hard to do, but it can be worked on. And I promise you this, it really helped me. The third point I want to talk about is, why do we hold on to mistakes? Usually it's because we're so wrapped up in what people are thinking about us that we have a tough time keeping focused on what's really important. And it gets a little bit overwhelming. When we're in game situations and we have a habit of thinking about what the coaches think, what the scouts think, what the parents think, what the media thinks, what the fans think, that's a lot clouding your mind when you need to have that 5-second rule and morning period and get right back into it. That's pretty much impossible to do if you have all those other things twirling around in your head. So you owe it to yourself to be fully present in that moment and really focusing on the reset and getting back into it. Because in truth, it's a little bit selfish If you're more concerned about how this makes you feel and how it's going to affect you and your stats and your career and your ascension, then to try to be a little more selfless, like I owe this to the team to reset, not because I let in a crappy goal, but because we have a game to play. Game's not over. You let in one goal, it's a goal. Whether it's the goal from outside the red line or a sick, tic-tac-toe play, the result is the same. And you need to move on quick. And I think if you can use a little perspective about that it's not all about you or me, that you can move on quicker. And it takes some time to work on this. It's not easy, especially if you've been going about things a certain way for X amount of time. If you're an adult, it becomes even more difficult because you have a lot of hardened ways. But it's totally manageable. I've worked on this with people of all ages, from 10 to 37. So it's totally doable. You got to be willing to make the commitment to sticking with it, practicing it like it's a physical skill that you're working on the ice. It's no different. Just stick with it, and you can develop this mentality a little bit less selfish and more selfless. It can be very, very helpful for you. The last thing I want to say, I just want everyone to know, because I know we've all gone through this. There isn't a person that will be watching this that is a goalie that hasn't experienced this in some shape or form. It just doesn't exist. So I want to let those people know that we all go through it. Even the very best, the best of the best. And there isn't a better example of a can't stop a beach ball game where things just go south than Patrick Waugh. And if you ever YouTube it, and his last game as a Montreal Canadian did not go well. And he's one of the best. We all have these moments. And I give another example too to a lot of my clients to YouTube it. And it's Martin Brodeur. Another, one of the best, if not the best. It was a playoff game, if I'm not mistaken, and I forget who it was. But the puck got dumped, and it was just on the ice, not even a shot. And he went to put his stick out to the knob so he could handle it. And when he did that, he freaking dropped his stick. And the stick, the hockey gods couldn't do this twice in a row. But the stick landed in such a way that the puck hit the stick, ricocheted off his stick, and went through his legs, and he did this weird contortion, and it went in the net. And that's like a Hall of Famer. But what was really cool about that story is how I remember it anyways, and how I tell it all the time, and how I remember it in my head, is that he bounced right back from that. Maybe not that game, maybe they lost it, I can't remember, but then he went on and he did his Brodeur thing in playoffs. Like it it's totally manageable. I just want you all to know that. And sometimes it helps when you know that you're not alone. Even the best, it happens to. And the last example I'll give, and I always use it with clients, is myself in junior. It was my first year in Major Junior. One of my earlier games in Major Junior, actually. And we were in Seattle. And the rink in Seattle, at that time, it was this square box crap hole of a rink. But it was awesome because the fans were right on top of you and they're all drinking beers and they were nasty. And we were winning the game by a lot, 6-0, 6-1 or something like that. And it was the end of the game. I'm feeling really good about myself. You know, I'm a young rookie in the WHL, and a defenseman came out from behind the net and just wristed it up in the air down the ice, and I lost it in the crowd. And right when I lost it, I freaking panicked. I had that moment of fear. I was like, didn't know where it was. And then it came down. Right when it came down, I saw it and I thought, I got it. And it hopped right over my stick and through my legs. And it went in. And the crowd went bananas, not only cheering, but just started giving it to me. You know, I'm 16, 17 years old. And my ego went from like this to I felt I needed to crawl in some hole on that ice because it was the worst feeling in the world. And I tried not to show it, but I was shaking, man. I was definitely shaking. I, I want you all to know that it happens to the best of us, but it is totally within our control to manage it. So I really hope that the stuff that I just said today can help you and it resonates with you. And just implement a couple of these things. This isn't a long video because it really isn't rocket science. But if you just implement a couple of these things, it can really help you. So that's it. That's all I got for you. I would love to hear in the comments what some of your rituals are. Maybe if someone sees that, they can maybe try that. Because I only gave a couple things that I know some of the people that I've worked with or myself have used. But if you have a different one, I'd love to hear them. Other than that, man, I would love for you to subscribe if you want some more mindset therapy. Don't forget to like and share this with anyone that you think it might help. And you guys all have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.